Thanks everyone again for tuning in. We will again start with questions for the dYdX trading team. We've got Corey here, and then we've got David and Josh from the foundation team and Carl from the dYdX grants team. We'll keep the format the same as the last Epoch reviews. We obviously sharing the deck and slides that go out with everything data and metrics. So I encourage everyone to read that prior to this or whilst this is on. And therefore, if there's any questions that you guys have, you can ask at the end of this AMA. So usually the structure, what happens, questions will go to Corey, questions will go then to David or Josh or myself, and then Carl from the grants team at the end. And then we'll open the floor up for an AMA where you guys can ask any questions really for the latter half of this AMA. Obviously, the format now, it's slightly shorter than before to try and encourage everyone to ask questions. So by all means, raise your hand up at the end or post in the trading channel in the general Discord section, and we can hopefully try and ask those questions to anyone up here today. Cool. I guess we can get started. So Corey, I know this question gets asked every week, but I know it's of interest to a lot of people. So how's V4 progressing and how's the kind of internal testnet going?
Things are progressing well. So milestone 2 is 95% complete. That is good. We're starting work on milestone 3 imminently. And we're breaking milestone 3 up into 3 different sections. The first one is like a tech debt, reliability, and essential features section. And we're going to build like what we are calling non-essential features. And the third section is a private network launch. And then in terms of timelines, that first section we're targeting for the end of 2022. So by the end of this year, we'll have that. And to be a little bit more specific what that is, that's kind of just the implementation of ABCI++, the central limit order book, and liquidations, tech debt, advanced orders, and funding. And then for the other 2 sections, which I mentioned, those will be in early 2023.
Awesome. No, that's exciting. Thanks for sharing that. And I guess there's been a few questions about kind of the onboarding process and what that might look like for users. I mean, has that been decided yet? What will the onboarding process look like?
Yeah, so it hasn't been built quite yet, but the goal here, and we're confident that we can get there, is the onboarding process will be basically similar to what it looks like today on the exchange. So you won't have to download any other wallets. You know, if you have like a MetaMask wallet or something like that, you'll be able to just onboard with that. And we'll build out some tech here to enable you to like migrate. Let's say you have USDC on Ethereum, we'll let you migrate that pretty easily to the dYdX chain, hopefully in like 1 click or 2. So yeah, it's definitely something we're thinking about. Definitely learning more about what is technically possible and what's not. But the goal here, and we're confident that we can get there, is that it will look very similar to what it looks like today.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. And then just the last couple of questions. We saw that the recent Masari report came out and they were talking about opportunities to reset tokenomics, etc. I mean, is this something that dYdX trading is thinking about? Or is this more sort of a governance decision long term?
Yeah, it's a good question. We're definitely thinking about proposing some things. Ultimately, I think it'll be up to governance and everyone else to actually agree and implement it. But yeah, these are things that we're certainly thinking about as we launch and work on V4. TBD exactly what might change, but yeah, I'll leave it at that. That certainly there is opportunity here to kind of update the token economics, and it's something that we are looking into.
Nice. Okay, thanks. And finally, just out of interest, obviously you guys did the recent Banksa integration. What were the kind of results there? Are there any updates? How's that success looking?
So, I would say the Banksa integration was kind of like a marginal feature that we added to the exchange. We wanted to test out if a lot of potential users were not onboarding to the exchange. because maybe they didn't have like ETH in their wallets or something like that. And yeah, I'd say it's been generally good. It's not like a huge feature on the exchange by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, we have like roughly 1% of our deposits using this feature at the moment.
Awesome. Thanks, Corey. That's all the pre-populated questions, but if anyone's got any questions to Corey or the trading team, then by all means post in the Discord channel and we can try and ask at the end as well. Okay, this is more for David and Josh. I guess there's the recent CEO announcement for the dYdX Foundation. I don't know, David or Josh, if you want to potentially touch on that.
Yeah, happy to. Yes, the foundation announced earlier this month that we hired Charles Dossi to join the foundation as our newly appointed CEO. For those of you who don't know Charles, he joins the foundation from Consensus, which is one of the big software development companies behind Ethereum, and responsible for MetaMask, Infura, and other tools within the ecosystem. During his time at Consensus, Charles ran Epoch, Asia Pacific growth efforts, and global business development, and has a ton of experience working, with the Hong Kong government to set up a fintech practice, and is a former entrepreneur with an exit, and has been in the crypto industry with a focus on broader protocol and ecosystem and infrastructure rules. So from my standpoint, Charles is really a gem and is a great addition to the foundation team. He's just a little bit more than a month into the new job, and really hitting the ground running with a bunch of context. So I think with the broader ecosystem moving towards V4, and the protocol really thinking about kind of a broader ecosystem play around the dYdX chain, Charles and the foundation team around him will continue to be really helpful in continuing to drive growth and decentralization of the protocol at large. So excited to have him on board. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to join today's call due to some scheduling conflicts, but the goal is to have him join in the future and then make himself available to the community, and then continue to represent the foundation at large in kind of public forums.
Yeah, thanks for that, David. Yeah, equally excited to have him on board. And I know Charles wants to come on and do an AMA himself just to introduce himself, and we'll keep you posted on when that will be. Cool. I guess next question is about the recent governance proposal changes. I guess probably for Josh. Any sort of impact to traders here? Are there anything that has come out from a proposal standpoint that you can talk about?
Yeah, for sure. Happy to jump in. I think 3 kind of interesting proposals that are in the mix right now that are all quite different. First one, which most recently passed a snapshot vote submitted by Xenophon Labs, was the snapshot vote to wind down the safety module, as I'm sure most people on this call knew about. But essentially, Xenophon Labs was proposing to set staking rewards for the safety module to 0 for 2 main reasons. One, that the safety module has what Xenophon Labs defined in their research paper as low insurance power, just given the fact that the safety pool is denominated in dYdX. Xenophon Labs was of the argument that it has actually like we'll say weaker ability to actually backstop the protocol. The second part of the proposal was the second part of the DRC was initially to spin up a separate USDC pool, which Xenophon Labs has essentially split this out into two separate proposals. The first being winding down the safety module. The separate USDC pool to backstop the protocol is going to come later in V4. Just made sense in terms of engineering resources and bandwidth. But in terms of winding down the safety module, what these specific action items are, I assume, going to look like, though the implementation hasn't fully been drafted yet, is it's going to involve setting staking and rewards to 0, similar to what happened with the liquidity module. And then the blackout window is going to get shrunk down to 3 days. All of this being said, there is no on-chain proposal yet. This change specifically requires an on-chain vote falling under the short time lock. So individuals who are still holding STK dYdX or stake dYdX are still receiving rewards for staking and will do so until the pool is wound down. Now, back of our top of mind is we want to ensure a consistent experience inside of the dYdX ecosystem for all traders and stakers. So I think part of the foundation's role here is to make sure that things similar to what happened with trading rewards being changed mid-Epoch doesn't happen again. Just in the fact that, people who are using dYdX are expecting a consistent user experience, and it is important to provide people with adequate notice so they can make arrangements to request to withdraw, stake dYdX, and withdraw in the following epoch, and so on. So I would say keep an eye out for announcements from the dYdX Foundation about whether the safety module is going to be wound down in the upcoming epoch. Unfortunately, kind of given the timing, whenever a community member tries to essentially tweak the blackout window. Currently, the blackout window is 14 days. In the proposal, I believe the blackout window is going to be shrunk to 3 days to accommodate people withdrawing stake dYdX after the pool is wound down, just because it seems unfair for people to have to wait 2 weeks to request to withdraw. But essentially, kind of given the timing, the proposal cannot be executable unless we are, as a community, outside of a blackout window. So the first 14 days of an epoch. So that's, I think, the most recent governance proposal. Moving on to the TrueFi proposal, has been in the works for some time now. There was actually recently some activity on that thread with one of the members from the TrueFi, I guess you call it PM, or the group of individuals that is planning to become part of the multi-sig and essentially administrate the TrueFi pool, has submitted like a revised proposal with a revised request for approximately, I think off the top of my head, they revised it down to 217K dYdX for the initial 4-month trial, which I think just in terms of like establishing product market fit, proof of concept, and getting market makers involved, seems directionally like a good move. Would strongly encourage the dYdX community to check out that thread and add in any comments that you have on the new structure of the TrueFi borrowing pool. I'm super excited about that proposal. I think it's a large opportunity for a good partnership with the TrueFi team, who's shown that they are, quite solid and good at what they do. I think finally the last proposal that has been in the mix and has recently, I think, quieted down a little bit is the proposal from Anchorage to essentially get dYdX from the dYdX community treasury and then to lend it to borrowers predominantly for the I guess, borrower's purpose of obtaining a lower fee tier. I think having had an AMA with Chase and Peter from Anchorage, and moving forward, they decided to, I guess, postpone the proposal for now, just until the safety module is wound down, just because there was some critique about ARB opportunities between borrow dYdX and then staking that borrow dYdX to the safety module and earning the yield there. So the idea in the most recent proposal was to peg the amount that borrowers were going to be paying to the safety module. In the back of everyone's mind should be that, like, you know, with less people staking to the safety module means the APR or yield is going to change quite a bit. And rather than have to deal with that, I think Anchorage was of the mind that it's simpler just to wait one epoch or two for the safety pool to be wound down if the dYdX community decides to do so, and to really go from there. So I would say keep an eye out for that proposal to reignite in terms of, I guess, like interest popularity once the safety module is wound down, or if the community decides the safety module should stay, if the safety module is in fact to remain intact. But I would say those are the three main governance proposals in the mix right now. Lots of interesting discussions, I think, still going on in Commonwealth. So I would encourage the dYdX community to head over to Commonwealth, read the most active threads, and, you know, let the dYdX community know what your thoughts are on these governance proposals.
100%. Thanks for that, Josh. That was really extensive. Awesome. Okay. I think quickly, for anyone who's here for a POOP, quickly head into the Trading General Discord channel and go and claim your POOP. It will be there for 5 minutes and then it will be removed, so make sure you go and claim that. Okay, moving on to the next question. I guess this is more so on any updates on the kind of DAO formation and any kind of functional working groups. Josh, David, I don't know who wants to take that one.
Happy to jump in here, yeah. Sorry, it's, everyone on this AMA is going to be sick of listening to my voice. But yeah, lots of really good progress, I think, on the DAO structuring side. I think we approach kind of DAO structuring in very much like a essentially towards like risk mitigation, and I think trying to learn from our peers. I think we at the dYdX Foundation, we're all kind of of the same mind that, like, there's a lot of DAOs out there that have not, you know, fully delivered, and we're still not seeing DAOs that are, you know, capable of executing quickly and efficiently running the respective protocols that they are involved with. So I think keeping all of these things in mind, have been doing a lot of work just in terms of liaising with, you know, public community members, having calls with DAO service providers, and really like building out the pipeline for trying to ignite some interest from active community members to, you know, put proposals forward and to assist with start building out kind of core functional areas of the DAO. Without saying too much more, I would say the dYdX Foundation should be releasing, you know, some form of blog post in the next near future about potential DAO structuring. Again, the composition, formation, structuring, and ultimately the creation of the dYdX DAO is totally in the hands of the dYdX community. I would say anything from the dYdX Foundation is going to be more to like jumpstart the conversation and offer a potential way of doing things. In no way is it binding on the dYdX community. So I'd say stay tuned for that. I will not say anything else about the dYdX DAO for now, but I don't know, David, if you wanted to jump in and add.
Happy to take this one. I mean, you know, ultimately, how governance pans out again is up to the community. I think the foundation is starting to spend more time really understanding what governance looks like in V4 and what options are available. Ultimately, all I can say right now is, there is a standard module for governance in the Cosmos SDK that may or may not make sense for the community to adopt. In a lot of ways, there are features to governance that mimic what exists today. And then there's also kind of new features or differences as well. So very much still kind of exploring what it looks like. But if you, I guess, refer back to the blog post that dYdX Trading released on kind of the different milestones, really, the build out and evaluation of the governance implementation will happen over the course of V4, or over the course of milestone 4. Sorry. So very much in kind of a brainstorming mode around what's worked in governance to date. How do we think about the next version of governance, and really trying to continue to innovate there. So again, if anyone has any ideas or thinks or knows a lot about kind of governance on Cosmos, always feel free to reach out to me and others, or post on the Commonwealth forums as well.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for that. That's great. Let's move over to Carl then from the dYdX grants team. Carl, I guess, as usual, are there any updates on all things grants V1.5?
Yeah, for sure. By the way, quick note on the GatherTown. We can talk about that because grants, I was talking to kind of the GatherTown team about continuing to support and the costs and everything. So,
bro.
Given that we funded that, we're obviously happy to keep maintaining it, and we're big fans of it, and we'd love to host everything there and be able to support all the users. But anyways, we can talk about that offline. So we approved our 4th round that will be published tomorrow, which brings us now to 17 individual grants and a total of about over $600,000 in funding allocated in V1.5. If you look at total across V1 and V1.5, we're at 15 rounds now with 79 different grants and around 2.7 million in funding. In terms of progress, ongoing grants approved in V1.5 are doing really well. We have lots of exciting updates coming from the merch team later this week. So I would say make sure you attend the AMA on Thursday. Not going to front run them any more than that already. I'll let them give their update. But I know everybody's been excited, and congrats to whoever the merch winner was on the poker tournament prior to this. Jealous about that. The Academy page is also progressing really well. Shout out to Mo, James, and Alagard, who have been doing great there. We've now issued all the grants with regards to building the actual Academy page. And so now we're moving on to the content contribution side of things. And so we'll be looking for kind of editor roles and translation roles and things like that, so that we can start to generate a consistent stream of high quality content that can be populated. And the research pieces are also showing progress, and hopefully we can see some of these completed reports by the end of the next few weeks as per their original timelines. So looking more ahead now, we took a step back and looked back at the original budget allocation that was approved from the community for V1.5, and we see that we've spent 0 on DAO preparation and only 13% on international growth. So we're really trying to focus our efforts towards identifying productive projects in these categories. Unfortunately for growth, efforts there are much more difficult in a bear market like the one that we're in today. The impact is typically diluted with overly negative news surrounding the general market. So even if you publish something really cool and productive, it'll just immediately be followed by a headline on the market price, or people just generally are just not very happy about it. And so it's just not, the impact is not always as great. And so we're being really careful with what we're funding, and kind of the first, what you'll probably see is first we kind of negotiate a very small proof of concept type grant before committing to kind of the larger effort. And that was something that we learned from V1 as well, is to kind of see some numbers before committing to a larger initiative. But we do have a few projects in process right now that should be getting approved in the next couple of weeks, so look out for those. Yeah, that's basically it. Then kind of as we previously mentioned, we were working on like a bunch of transparency efforts. Those will be out this week as well, and we're sharing kind of Epoch update, and going forward we'll be doing Epoch updates just to kind of keep a more consistent set of information flow from the grants team as well, so that everybody's more in line with our activity.
Nice, exciting. Thanks, Carl. And if anyone who wants to potentially apply for the sort of the educational sort of written content and things you were talking about, do they apply just as a normal grant? Is this on a bounty board? Where do they kind of go for that?
Yeah, good question. We're approaching it in a few different ways. Initially, we might put out a couple of RFPs around like potential more longer term roles, and then we're looking at using kind of dWork or some other sort of bounty board type setup in order to allow more general contributions from community members that would then have to go through this type of like peer review system on behalf of existing grantees to make sure that the content is in line with expectations and in line with the quality that we will hold ourselves to with regards to the academy. So we'll share some updates there. Yeah, I think it's going to be a kind of a combination of like small bounties for like, hey, we're looking for a post on like staking in Cosmos or something like that, and then like more something longer term, like we're looking for a peer reviewer or like somebody who can consistently translate content into Spanish, Japanese, etc.
Nice, awesome. And I guess finally, obviously, there's been a weekly stream currently of grant AMAs. Is this something that's going to continue on, I guess, throughout the rest of the year and season?
Yeah, for sure. So part of what we're doing now is kind of all of our approved grantees, part of the deal is like you have to come on and give an AMA to the community and kind of be more open to sharing everything in a public setting and making yourself available to the community so that we get more engagement, so that the grantee is held more accountable by the community members in terms of the quality that they're produced, not just the grants team, and just as well, just to like promote the product and whatever it is that they're building, just so that we get more eyes on it from community members. So yeah, we had one, I think it was last week or maybe it was the week before, I'm losing track. And then we have another one coming up next week. And I mean, we have the merch one this week, and that's their own thing, but they are still a grantee. But yeah, so we're going to try to do them weekly, if not bi-weekly, definitely.
Fantastic. Thanks, Carl. Appreciate that update. Cool. That's every question for the teams up here. I guess anyone in the audience, if you want to ask something, by all means, raise your hand and we can pull you up on stage. We've got about 10 minutes left, so feel free to ask anything and we'll try and answer your questions. We'll give it a couple of minutes anyway, and if anyone's got anything, we'll bring you up. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys posting these questions and love to see the interaction recently on Discord, providing feedback on Commonwealth. It's great to see the number of comments that are really detailed continue to increase. So this is something that is really valuable in the community and something that we really pay attention to as well. What we'll do then is we'll end on this note. This, as usually, will be deciphered and posted as soon as we can. I'll try and post it up on YouTube later today. But from a transcription perspective, this takes a little bit of time. It will probably take a week before we can actually get this up on our blog. But we'll keep you updated as soon as the blog is up and ready. So thanks, Carl. Thanks, Josh, David, Corey, for coming on as usual. Thanks, guys, for being in the audience and listening in and asking your questions. We'll end on that note, and I guess we'll catch you in the next Epoch review. Thanks, everyone.